ho, nah. BOOZHOO, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to BOOZHOO, NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am NANABOOZHOO, and today I want to talk about Indian names. Sometimes kids ask me, hey man, how do I get an Indian name? And what is an Indian name? But before we get into that, I just want to say BOOZHOO to my great niece. We call her Smiles at Numbers. Here, check this out. Isn't that just cute? Nah. But she's called Smiles at Numbers for obvious reasons. And in Ojibwe, we call her Zumeen Gwani, Asigi B Iganen. Zumeen Gwani, Asigi B Iganen. And if that seems hard to pronounce, think of it like this. So your first name is Smiles at. Zumeen Gwani. Like once upon a time, there was a girl named Gwen, but her friends called her Gwenny. And she was really mean, so they called her Mean Gwenny. And she worked at the zoo, so they called her Zumeen Gwani. And Asigi B Iganen means numbers. Asigi B. How can you remember that? So back in the days of when your mom was in college or your grandma was in college, she used to smoke cigarettes, and she'd be like, hey, should we go and have a ciggy? And you can think of it as a ciggy B. Do you want a ciggy A or a ciggy B? Well, I'll take a ciggy B. And then Iganen. I don't know. Zumeen Gwani, a ciggy B Iganen. Smiles at Numbers. And that's her Indian name. So today, what is an Indian name? An Indian name is like a second name you get when you decide, as they say in Dances with Wolves, to walk the path of the true human being. When you're getting an Indian name, Dances with Wolves could have been called How John Dunbar Got His Indian Name. Because, he started out that movie with the name John Dunbar. And throughout the course of the movie, he starts to live like an Indian. He grows his hair out and he starts to hang out with the Shenabs, And after a whole bunch of stuff that happens, they start calling him Dances with Wolves. That was his Indian name. Should I tell the story of Dances with Wolves? I wonder if I have time. This is the story of Dances with Wolves. Back in the days of the grandfathers, there was a man named John Dunbar, and he was a Chamokaman. He had a long knife. Chamokaman, that means long knife. And he was a soldier in the cavalry, or U.S. government anyway. And so the day came, he was fighting in a battle in Hoa. He was just all damaged and injured. And he was in the sick tent there. And to his left, there was a guy who was dying. And to his right, or other way around, to his right, to his left here, this guy getting his leg sawed off. And he was like, Hoa, I'm going to die out here. I might as well go out in a blaze of glory. So he hobbles out of the tent there and he gets on his horse. And he rides right, there was a battle going on. On one side was their guys and the other side was the guys they were trying to kill. And he gets on a horse and he rides right down the middle, thinking that he's like, whatever, let's just get it over with. He thought he'd get shot by the other guys, the redcoats or whatever. And everybody, they just watched him. They're like, what is that guy doing? Nobody even thought to shoot. And as they were looking at him riding across the way, the bluecoats got their guns up and pow, 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 pow. And they wasted all those guys. And oh what, John Dunbar was a hero. And the general goes, that's a crazy stunt. You know, you don't follow the rule book. And I can't approve of your reckless ways. But you're a hero to us. You saved our troop. So you can go anywhere you want. We'll give you a post anywhere in the world. Or at least in, America. And he goes, you know what? I've always wanted to go out to where the buffalo are. I want to go out to the wild edge before, just to see the country the last time without it being, corrupted by Walmarts and whatnot. And he goes, okay, man, you can go way out in South Dakota or Nebraska or somewhere. And you can set up a post and you'll be the only guy out there. And we promise we won't just forget about you. we're gonna make sure that you don't just get left out there. So he goes out there and sets up camp in this little log cabin right in the middle of the prairie. And his only friend is his horse, who's really smart. He's got a bunch of canned goods and a bunch of guns. And he just starts, and he's still a soldier, right? Every morning he'd get up and polish his boots, kind of patrol the rim, write in his journal. He's still going by the army rules. But as time wore on, he started to get bored. And he got kind of sick of living like that. His only friend was his horse. And occasionally a wolf would come by. And he'd feed him little scraps of meat and whatnot. So he was all lonely except for his horse and a wolf. So one day, the Shinabs from over a little ways away, they come upon John Dunbar. They see him out there all by himself with his horse and that wolf. And they go, oh wow, look at that. Let's come back later and steal that horse. We're one short. Let's go steal that white man's horse. So in the middle of the night, they came back and they snuck into the camp and they stole his horse. John Dunbar gets up and he runs out and he's all naked with all he has is a gun. He's like, hey man, give me back my horse. And what happens? That old horse, he just stops and he pulls the kids off the horses. They were just kids who were stealing his horse. And the horse ran back because he was friends with John Dunbar. And they were like, oh wow, that's a smart horse. And they ran back. So the next day, John Dunbar gets up and he goes, oh man, I'm going to have to talk to those kids' dad. That's not cool. Try to steal my horse. So he gets on his army suit and gets all, grabs his long sword, his chimokaman, and his gun and all that. And he rides into the Indian camp. And, this is back in the days of their grandfathers. So they're living in teepees. And actually, he doesn't even get there yet. He's riding on his way. And what does he see? A beautiful Indian maiden. But she's crying by this tree. And as he gets up there, he sees, oh, wow, she's covered in blood. She tried to kill herself. And just then, she's like, ugh. And she passes out. And John Dunbar thinks to himself, oh, great. I haven't been with a woman in 6 months, and I'm with one for 2 seconds. Already it's drama. So I can't just leave her. So he grabs her and he somehow climbs back up on his horse and pulls her up with him. I don't know how he did that. But so he rides into the Indian camp with this injured woman who's very beautiful. Even covered in blood. He's like, oh wow, if she wasn't almost dead. And he brings it in. And the Indians are like, oh, wow, what'd you do? Give me that. It's my cousin. And he pulls the girl off to the horse. And then they go, go on now. Get out of here, you dirty white man. And John Dunbar goes, geez, just come in here. Your kids tried to steal my horse. And he rides back to his camp, just sad. He's like, who was that girl? How come she's so sad? Did somebody steal her horse? Well, the days go by. And he's just hanging out with his horse and with this little wolf. And he started a game with the wolf. He'd go out and he'd be like feeding him little bits of meat. He'd be like, here you go, bud. Oh, how about over here? Over here? Huh? You can jump. And pretty soon he's got that dog spinning around, he's just dancing with him, right? Well, meanwhile, these Indians all come up and they're lying in their bellies in the long grass there. And they're like, oh, wow, look at that guy. It looks like he's dancing with that wolf. That's pretty cool, huh? That wolf there, he's a regular Michael Jackson. Oh, what? Did he just do the moonwalk? He's dancing with that wolf. I gotta hand it to, I didn't know white people could dance. And so they go down there like, hey man, we brought you some blankets and we're really sorry our kids tried to steal your horse. That wasn't cool. And John Dunbar is like, hey, you know what? You want a cup of coffee? And I go, what's coffee? And he goes, what's coffee? All right, you know that crappy cedar tea you guys have been drinking? These are from beans from Colombia. And he boiled some water and he crushed up some coffee beans and he made them coffee. And the guys were like, oh, wow, this is coffee? Oh, I really like this drink. How come I feel so energized and happy? He goes, oh, yeah, that's caffeine. You're going to love it. And they're like, yeah, man, that's good coffee. You know, we should be friends. And he goes, yeah, you think that's not half of it. Check this out. And he pulls out a jar of sugar and he gives one little drop or a teaspoon of sugar in the guy's coffee. And I goes, wow, that's even better. You guys check this out. And he grabs a whole handful of sugar, plops it in the cup. And the Indians are like, okay, man, from here on, if anybody ever says white people never did nothing for us, let's remember they gave us coffee and sugar. And so they became friends. And then, let's see. So John Dunbar starts hanging out with the Indians all the time and he helps them hunt buffalo. And he brings rifles to help defend against the Pawnee. The Pawnees are just a bunch of jerks, I guess. They're the bad guys. And then eventually, you know, he saves the day. They're out hunting buffalo. And they're like, you want to hunt with us? I mean, good luck, white man, but we're great buffalo hunters. And John Dunbar's like, oh yeah? Well, check this out. And he's got a rifle. And so they start to hunt. And he saves a little boy's life at the last minute. Buffalo's running right at him. And he saves his life. So that night, they had a big feast. And the chief, 10 Bears, comes out and goes, you know, you saved my grandson's life. And now you are living like the Indians. We will call you Dances with Wolves. That will be your name. Because you've decided to walk the way of a true human being. And this has been the story of Dances with Wolves. I will see you again. Giga Waba Min. Minoa. Hoa.